Do you know why Sunni Muslims and Shiite Muslims kill each other? We're going to talk about it today. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Welcome to the program, friend. We are rerunning a series that we did on the Muslim Brotherhood because, frankly, we felt that it would be helpful. And we are spending time working on another series that we're doing called What Would Muhammad Do? Understanding Islam through the life of Muhammad. And in that series, we are taking the words and deeds of Muhammad recorded from 1400 years ago and showing how they impact today's headlines. Well, that's caused a few problems for us, as you might imagine, and we need your help. I'll tell you about the problems when we are done with this program. I hope that you appreciate what we're doing. And if you do appreciate it, I'm asking you to please stand with us. Welcome to today's program, friend. By the way, today's show is brought to you in part by bacon. When I'm studying my Quran, there's nothing like bacon. All right. If you want to understand the Muslim Brotherhood, you have to understand historic Islam, okay? In fact, some people call it Salafi terrorism. Salafi means the predecessors or the ancient, okay? And any devout Christian sees themselves in the narrative of the life of Jesus, or I spent so much time debating in Bible school, what is the church? What did the early church look like? We want to be a Book of Acts church, a New Testament church. You know what I'm talking about. You've heard it yourself. Well, the Muslims, as they pursue the God that they know, and I do not believe he is God, all right? The Muslim God, if anything, is a corruption of the Christian God, and we'll get to that later on. But they want to pursue Islam by mimicking the life of Muhammad and establishing the Islamic community based upon the parameters and the behaviors and the history that they see from the early Islamic community. All right? So the Muslim Brotherhood and all Islamic groups that trace their organizational and or philosophical roots to the Muslim Brotherhood, well, they all reach back to the dawn of Islam to frame their identity and chart their course of action. So, if we're going to have a clue, it is to the dawn of Islam that we must journey. All right? Now, during Muhammad's life, he became first the spiritual, then the political, and then the military leader of the Ummah. All right, that's an Arabic word which basically means the community of Muslim believers. Now, I want to stop here for a second and explain something. The Ummah, the community. There is a body of political and theological thought that goes with that for Muslims, namely this. They believe there is only one Ummah, all right? There is only one body politic. There is only one body of believers who all must be under the same head, okay? Islam, true Islam, despises what we would call nationalism. Go Britannica, go Italy, go America. I'm proud to be an American. No, they don't go for that. We are Muslim. We are the Ummah. We are the people of Allah. Okay? One body, one political body, one military force, one religious and political leader who is the successor, the Caliph of Muhammad. Now, you have to keep that in mind. You have to remember that, because as we look at the Muslim Brotherhood and various terrorist organizations that find their ideological firepower from the Muslim Brotherhood, that theme is ever present, it never leaves, and it was present with the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, because it was with Muhammad. Now, within Muhammad's lifetime, he and his companions had successfully brought all of the tribes dwelling on the entire Arabian Peninsula under his rule, under Islam's rule, sometimes by preaching, usually by war, and sometimes by treaties that were created with the threat of war. Okay? Well, at Muhammad's death, he had not appointed a successor, but it was understood that a successor would arise with all of Muhammad's authority except his prophetic office. Okay? Muhammad claimed that he was the last prophet, the seal of the prophets. And therefore, his successor could not claim any prophetic authority. I've got to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you a question now. Who was the first successor of Muhammad? How about the second, third, and fourth? And what's their nickname? How can you have a nickname when you're so important? My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Welcome back to the show, friend. If you just joined us, we're doing a special multi-part series on the Muslim Brotherhood. In order to understand the Muslim Brotherhood, you must reach back to the dawn of Islam itself. All right, the first caliph. No, he did not have a nickname. Not that I know of, anyway. His name was Abu Bakr, all right? Muhammad died in around 632. Abu Bakr was one of Muhammad's oldest and closest friends, one of his oldest followers. He was also Muhammad's father-in-law. He was the father of the beautiful child bride, Aisha. Now, this is simply a rabbit trail, but in case you did not know, it is absolutely true, and it's a part of revered Muslim history, that Muhammad married Aisha when she was 5 years old, 5, and consummated the wedding 4 years later when she was 9. And he died when she was 16 years old. She died childless. She never had any children. All right. So Abu Bakr was first. And then he was followed by Umar, then Uthman, and then Ali. All right? Now, in the Sunni framework, these 4 men constitute the 4 rightly guided caliphs. Okay? The four of them, because they were all friends and companions of Muhammad, they were rightly guided because they were discipled by Muhammad himself. Now, there was at the time a minority of Muslims who believed that a legitimate successor of Muhammad must be a blood relative of Muhammad in a more dynastic tradition like the Europeans have. And Ali, who was Muhammad's cousin, and he was also the husband of Muhammad's daughter Fatima, was their choice, all right? They were called the Party of Ali, or Shiite Ali in Arabic, which was shortened to Shiite. So the Sunni position concerning succession has prevailed until this day, all right? And throughout most of Muslim history, as well as with the majority of Muslims. Now, before we go forward, I want you to grasp this. This is fundamental to understanding the Muslim world. Sunnis believe that anybody who is rightly guided can be a successor to Muhammad. That's what the Sunnis believe. The Shiites believe, the party of Ali believe, no, it must be a blood relative of Muhammad himself. And that conflict started upon the death of Muhammad, and it has been horrifically bloody at points. We'll talk more about that as we go forward. Now, there have been some small but notable exceptions where the Shiite power base actually existed, where a dynasty did continue, such as during the Crusade period. But for most of Islamic history, the Sunni position regarding the caliphate, the successor, the caliph, the caliphate, has prevailed. And the rift between Shiites and Sunnis, as I said, has never healed. And we'll look more at the bloodshed. Now, this TV show right now is focusing on the Sunni Islamist movement, which the Muslim Brotherhood serves as the vanguard, okay? So we're going to be talking predominantly about Sunnis and the Muslim Brotherhood. And by the way, the chief theologian for the Muslim Brotherhood, Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi, has, within the past couple of weeks, called for all Sunni jihadists, all right, all Sunnis who are able to fight, to go to Syria. Why? Go to Syria to fight Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist Muslim organization, but they're Shiites, okay? And the Shiites, Hezbollah, are defending Assad, the leader of Syria. And so Yusuf had enough of this and said, anybody who is a Muslim jihad warrior, please go right now to Syria, fight against Hezbollah, and try and bring down the Assad regime and establish a Sunni regime, because Assad is a Shiite. That's why he is a puppet that is held up by the Iranian government. They're Shiites too. All right, I am going to take a break because I'm being told it's time for me to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about how some of those first four caliphs met their demise. That peaceful religion of Islam sure knows how to take care of its leaders. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back, friend. The first generation of Muslims and the companions of the Prophet, as they are called, endured severe upheavals. Immediately following Muhammad's death, most of the believers on the Arabian Peninsula who had come to Allah through Muhammad's leadership apostatized. They just completely left the faith. And that induced Abu Bakr, the first caliph, father-in-law of the little child bride, to reconquer militarily the people who had previously sworn allegiance to Muhammad and to his religion. Now, it's critical as you study the Muslim Brotherhood that you grasp that the very first man who followed Muhammad saw the entire Arabian Peninsula say, well, he's dead, that's over, let's go back to our old religions. Give me some of that old-time religion, some of that old-time paganism, polytheism, anything but Mohammedism. And so Abu Bakr said, no, you guys just don't get it. Most of you came to the Lord, Allah. Most of you came to Allah through the sword. You swore allegiance to this religion, and I'm going to use the sword again to bring you back. The sword evangelized you, terror evangelism we call it, and the sword will keep you. In Christianity, the keeping power of God has to do with the grace of God, the Holy Spirit, the perseverance of the saints. And of course, in Islam, it has to do with the fear of the sword. And as we will see, the Muslim Brotherhood is completely content to use the sword to keep people in the faith. Muhammad himself said, if someone leaves his Muslim faith, kill him. So Abu Bakr, rather than kill them all, I mean, what good is a religion if you got to kill all of your former adherents, said he killed some of them and reconquered them, brought them back safely into the peaceful religion of Islam. All right. Abu Bakr died of an illness after only about 2 years as caliph. He was an intense warrior, so he was able to reconquer the entire Arabian Peninsula, bring them back to Islam, and then was dead within 2 years. Now, fellow Muslims, in turn, assassinated the next 3 caliphs, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. All of the first 4 caliphs were dead within 30 years. The second, third, and fourth dead by murder from fellow Muslims. So, these internal strugglings notwithstanding, Muslim generals and the Mujahideen lunged outside of the Arabian Peninsula immediately. They really believed that God had called them to use the sword to spread the Muslim religion. And by the time of Ali's death, around 661, Islamic forces had taken modern-day Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, Persia, Egypt, and other areas of North Africa. And listen to this, by 711, almost all of the Iberian Peninsula was controlled by Muslims. We're talking Spain, all right? You can see it on the screen. Muslim armies advanced, hear me, into modern France, okay? They were finally defeated at the very critical and decisive Battle of Tours by Charles the Hammer, who was the grandfather of Charlemagne, Charles the Great. They were defeated at the Battle of Tours around 732, and that caused them to retreat back to Iberia, where they stayed entrenched for hundreds of years until they were driven out later. Now, the Byzantines, they held out. All right, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'll explain about the Byzantines when I come back. And by the way, let me just say this in parting. One of my sons is named after Charlemagne. Why? Well, because he's our great grandfather. I'm not saying that we have the blood of an emperor flowing in our veins as a family, but we do. All right, fine. So does half of Europe. Literally, half of Europe is descended directly from Charlemagne. He was a busy man, happily married, a lot of children, a lot of grandchildren. I've got to take a break. I'll be right back. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back, friend. All right, again, I said to you a show or two ago, the reason that history is so important is because if you don't know where you came from, you have no idea how you got here. And if you can't see the trajectory of where we came from, how we're here, you can't see where we're going. That's why history is so important, because things happen for a reason. It's not that they happen in a linear fashion, but it's like a rocket. You see where it came from, you see how we got here, you see where we're going. So the Muslims are anchored in the Iberian Peninsula, all right? The Byzantines, who were based in Constantinople, they were a critical, beautiful part of Christendom, the Byzantine Empire. They held out against the Muslims until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. But even though the Muslims couldn't take Constantinople right off the bat, they drove east. And Muslim armies penetrated into India, reaching the western borders of China. All right? Now, the defeat at Tours in France notwithstanding, the scope of Muslim growth and expansion and the speed at which they did it, taking so much geography, is only comparable to something like Alexander the Great. And perhaps it's without parallel in human history for capturing and holding vast populations for centuries. Now, you might remember that after 9/11, 2001, where the terrorists attacked in America, the federal government commissioned the 9/11 report, all right? So it's the 9/11 Commission report. And they looked into the terrorist attacks, they looked at Islam, and they noted, kind of deftly, but they noted that Muslims look back on the century after Muhammad's death as Islam's golden age, okay? They said, and I quote, "What happened then, the spread of Islam from the Arabian Peninsula throughout the Middle East, North Africa, and even into Europe, in less than a century seemed and seems miraculous." Well, in the Islamic scheme, these successes were in fact miraculous. The success militarily confirmed Muhammad's message and his mission that it was from God himself and that God wanted the Islamic faith to be spread by the sword. Okay? The Islamic faith and their legal structure believes that Islam is destined by Allah to convert or rule all the nations of the earth, and the sword is an absolutely indispensable part of that. I'm about out of time. I'm giving you this background so that you can understand how the Muslim Brotherhood thinks, what they envision, what they want. And what they want is ultimately the subjugation of the earth, and they're happy to use the sword to do it. Talk to you tomorrow. Well, there you have it. This is the Muslim Brotherhood in their own words, with their own history. Friend, we have received a credible threat from Muslims calling themselves the Theo Van Gogh Society. And as I have said before, there is no Theo Van Gogh Society. Theo Van Gogh was murdered in broad daylight by a Muslim because of his part in making a film showing the abuse of women under Islamic law. We will not be quiet. We will not be silent. In the fear of God, in the love of God, in the love of humanity, in the love of poor Muslims that are trapped in this violent worldview, we will say the truth. But it comes with a price. And part of it is that we have threats against us, and we need to beef up the security here at our studio as well as at our homes. We simply don't have the resources to do that. But maybe if you'll help, and a few others will help, we could. If you believe in what we're doing, I'm asking you to pick up your phone or write us in the mail or go to your computer and make a contribution online. But please, please, please pray for us and stand with us economically. We'll continue to stand for the truth. God bless you.